right, welcome everyone for a special edition of the Hot 10 where I'm going to look at just the exclusives released at San Diego Comic-Con this past weekend. So this is strictly exclusives at San Diego Comic-Con. You know I normally leave this stuff off the regular Hot 10 list. That's why I can do a whole separate list based just around these exclusives that came out this weekend. Hopefully you're enjoying this as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. Check out my toy channel, Toy Informer, while you're at it. And if you haven't given Whatnot a try yet, first-time users, use the link below. You get a free $15 on me to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached. 15 bucks for you first-time users. Not only will you help the channel, but you get yourself something nice. So you really got nothing to lose if you haven't tried Whatnot yet. And with that all said, for you fans of San Diego Comic-Con and fans of exclusives, I got you covered today as I'm going to run down the top 10 list just for this weekend's drops. So if you want to see what they are, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro and I will be right back.
Number 10.
That's right. No notables, no honorable mentions. We're getting right into the list with number 10, which is a gorgeous Sozo Micah cover on G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 308. This thing is beautiful. I love this thing. There's something about the pose. It's classic. It's got kind of a pulpy throwback vibe a little bit to something more in line with like the mod era of the 60s. I don't know. Something about it. I really dig this cover. And a lot of people are digging this cover as they're spending about $80 on average for this thing. Granted, only on about like a dozen or so sales. So it's not a ton of volume yet. But considering I'm filming this on Sunday and San Diego Comic-Con is just ending today, that's not too bad for the start, for a weekend exclusive. Highs of 95 as well. This book is it's doing pretty well considering it's in at number 10. So you can only imagine what I still got coming for you on the rest of this list. But number 10 is a pretty good one in my opinion, and one I wish I could have grabbed for much less than this. But with that said, let's move on to our next one.
Number 9.
So coming in at number 9, we have a gorgeous Peach Momoko. I know she takes a lot of flack lately about a lot of covers because, to be fair, she can be hit or miss. There are a number of covers that she was rushed into doing the last year or two where I think she was just overworked that weren't great. This is fantastic in my opinion. I love the look there on Scarlet Witch. This is for Scarlet Witch number 2, by the way. Virgin cover by Peach Momoko. Jeff the Land Shark in the middle as well. He's a fan favorite these days. This is just a nice cover, and it's very well done. And I can see why people are paying an average of 60 bucks for this thing already. So just dropping this weekend at San Diego, it's already averaging 60, hitting a high of almost $100 on a bit more volume than the G.I. Joe book. This one, I've seen at least 30 plus sales. And once again, that's not counting a lot of the sales from today. I'm filming this on Sunday. I ran these numbers this morning, so it was just on the first few couple of days of the con. More of these are going to be selling as the rest of the weekend finishes out. So with that said, let's see what else we got on the list, because that's only our first 2 books.
Number 8.
So with number 8, we go to a galaxy far, far away, and we have Star Wars 48, the Virgin EM Gist cover. I'm a big Gist fan. He's a really good dude, and his art is phenomenal. I love his painted style, and this thing is gorgeous. And, it's just classic. It's classic Luke for you fans out there. Average 115 bucks. Highs of 150. Granted, only about 15 sales, so it's not a ton of volume, but those are still solid prices. With many of these convention exclusives, some of the prices could be skewed a little bit by signatures because a lot of the artists are there at the convention and they are doing signatures. So some of these sales might have a signature or even a remark or two. I tried to pull out the really far outliers because some of the remarks can make a book like this sell for like 350 bucks. If it has a solid little remark sketch done by the artist, that could really pop up the price. So I tried to take those out so they wouldn't blow the average, but still, some of these might have a sig or two. I mean, it is what it is. But still, a gorgeous cover and a pretty cool Star Wars cover. And also, make sure you stick around after this show for Star Wars. More on that later as we get to our lucky number 7.
Number 7.
Panel exclusive. So this one, you had to go to a panel And this is X-Men #1, the Ryan Stegman cover. So it's kind of like one of those. It reminds me of the premiere covers that Marvel did a while back, where it's mostly like a little bit of color wash with some black and white kind of in the background. So it's like spot colored, and it's a virgin as well. This thing also came polybagged. So keep that in mind too. So some of these people who grabbed this out of panel, threw it in their backpacks in those poly bags, these things may not be in the best shape. So just be wary when you're buying these online, because these could get banged up as people grab them at panels and they just stick them in their backpacks without any support or anything like that. Granted, a lot of people bring like top loaders and they bring like those storage boxes or their own bags and boards, but not everybody does. So keep that in mind when you're doing your due diligence when you're out there shopping, because it's not like you can get this thing for cheap. Not a ton of volume yet on this panel exclusive. There's a bunch of them listed, but the ones that have sold at an average of $120 so far, and even hit a high of 130. So it's just one to watch. A lot of times these panel exclusives can be more sought after because it wasn't just on the floor available for everybody. You actually had to go out of your way and go pick this up at another spot at the convention. And not everybody's willing to do that. Or not everybody can do that, because those things can be limited depending on the size of the room. With that said, let's move on to our next book.
Number 6.
At number 6, Skybound is giving us another Invincible #2. I don't know why they keep giving us issues 1 and 2 of Invincible every year, but they keep doing it. They keep giving us reprints of Invincible 1 and 2 over and over again. This one is a black and white sketch by Ryan Ottley, and there is also, I believe, a color version of this and a foil version of this, as well as virgin versions of those color and foil versions. Some have signatures, some do not. But the black and white so far seems to be the most sought after one, as this one is averaging about $100, high of 135 on a whopping 40 plus sales. So there's a lot of volume on these things. So just keep an eye on that. And with that, let's get into the top half of the list with our number 5.
Number 5.
Here's where we begin the J. Scott Campbell portion of the show, because there are a couple of J. Scott Campbell covers on this list because collectors just can't get enough. I am also guilty of collecting J. Scott Campbell. I also like this cover. Had this been just available at his shop for like a decent price, I might have considered it, or I would have been happy to pull this out of a mystery box. But this J. Scott Campbell cover for Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider #1 is averaging $100 right now, hitting a high of 135 on another 40 plus sales. A lot of volume, a lot of collectors for Campbell. Some of these are signed, not all of them are. Some of them aren't. You might get a couple extra bucks for a signature, you might not, for otherwise. It's just one of those things. Again, at the convention, there's going to be more SIGs out there because he's at the show. So he was at the con there. So if you bought the book, maybe you got a SIG for free. $100 still ain't bad as an average, and a ton of volume already, because again, con's just ending today, and I ran all these numbers early this morning. So there still could be more sales coming as the week goes on, as FOMO still takes hold, and people love running after all those convention exclusives that get all hot, and then we see what happens on the next week. We'll see if any of these maintain or hang around, and especially the ones that aren't even new art. But with that said, let's get to some of those books that aren't even new art with our next book.
Number 4.
That's right. We've seen number 4 before, because this is the Witchblade 1 in 50 cover that Campbell did for Witchblade #1. But now it's a convention exclusive, and it's shiny foil. Shiny foil. Yes, everybody can't resist a nice shiny foil cover there. That said, this is averaging anywhere from 85 to 125. Why did I do it like this as opposed to the other ones where I gave you one number? This one's a little trickier because more of the recent sales are actually coming down, but there's still higher ones mixed in. So there's $85 hitting here. There's 120 hitting there. Some of these are going as part of sets for over $200. When I say sets, there is a black and white sketch version of this cover as well. On its own, it's not doing as well as the foil, but again, in a set, over $200. 40 plus sales here again. Plenty of volume on this. Plenty of Campbell collectors out there. And I get it. This is type of cover. I can see shiny foil making it very sparkly and making it very shiny and really catching your eye, because it's Witchblade, so she's shiny to begin with. You add in the bright purples and pinks, I get it. It's probably going to catch your eye and get you to start throwing some extra bucks at it. But Still, it is a cover we have seen before, which is a little bit disappointing in my opinion. But, buy what you like. It's up to you. With that, we still have the top 3 to get to.
Number 3.
At number 3, we have another J. Scott Campbell cover and another cover we've seen before. This is his store exclusive, well, at least one of the store exclusives, where he redid some of his famous ASM covers from his earlier run. This is on Ultimate Spider-Man number 4. This is a Virgin cover. Again, it's a Virgin version of one of his store exclusives that he did. You got the whole Parker family there sitting on the couch. It's not bad. It's not a bad cover. The other originals of these are all very, very pricey. So I can see why this coming out of the gate is also very pricey, averaging $120. High of 175. Over 50 sales on this thing. I think this might have been limited to like 15 or 1800. And that's the case for some of these. These are limited in the hundreds, like 500 here, 1,000 there, 1,500 there. There's a lot of these. Not to say there's like it's as many as people want, but don't go thinking that there's only like a dozen. Like these are very, very unique items. There was enough to feed a whole convention of convention goers that wanted to go and pick some of these books up. So again, keep that in mind before you go quickly shelling out $120, $175 for some of these exclusives. That's just my opinion. You do what you want. It's your money. I just always like to try to get people to err on the side of caution, especially when we're talking about money. It's your money. You don't care. Spend it however you want. But if you're thinking about investing, exclusives aren't always the best way to invest, which is why I don't like to cover them on the main list. But they are fun. I do like to collect them too. I'm not saying they're all terrible or horrible or evil or anything like that. I'm just saying it's all about setting expectations. And with that said, we've got 2 more books for you, and let's see what they are next.
Number 2.
2 is a preview Ashcan for Absolute Batman. I know a lot of people are looking forward to this. I'm kind of limited in my expectations for this because it just seems like it's another Batman. Like, okay, we're going to retell Batman's origin story again. I'm not wowed and getting swooning over the fact that it's a big muscular Batman with huge thighs like Frank Miller drew him. Okay, cool. He's not a billionaire. All right, I guess it's a different take. It's still just going to be a Batman story. I'll enjoy it, probably. I'll read it, sure, but I don't know. I'm just maybe not as excited as most. But that all said, I understand something like this, an exclusive Ashcan. This is the foil version. There is a black and white version as well. That's not shiny foil, so the foil is a little bit more of a limited version, which is why it is going for an average of $150, hitting a high of $220. Again, a couple dozen sales on this bad boy already. I also mentioned there's the black and white covers going out there as well. I think the black and white ones are more in the like $70 to $80 type of range as opposed to the foil one. But, I get it. It's cool. People are excited. They can't wait for Absolute Batman. And yeah, it is what it is. It's an Ashcan teaser. And a lot of times these Ashcan teasers end up being the bells of the show. At least that's what happened last year with those Transformer books. You remember? The G.I. Joe and Transformer books, those were the ones that everybody was chasing at last year's convention. And seems to be another Ashcan is near the top. And let's see what actually is sitting on top for this year at our final book.
And our number 1.
And our number 1 book, I said it, it's Skybound again. It's the Energon universe again. People just can't get enough of this. I can't get enough of this. I love the Energon universe, and I would be ecstatic to have grabbed an Ashcan preview for G.I. Joe number 1, which is not coming out, I believe, until November. I get it. I'd be down for this too. But this was given out at the Energon panel. There are actually 2 covers on this. I'll show you the second cover in a minute, but this is the Cobra cover that I've seen mostly popping up out there for sale, and it is going for an average of $250. $250. That's pretty steep. I mean, even last year, the Transformer Ashcans were going for quite a bit. And remember the Duke? We had the Duke, and we had the Cobra Commander. I think the one was at New York, one was at San Diego. I get it. People love collecting these things, and sets are going for $600. And when I say sets, is because the other cover is got the I think that's the Twins company, Tomax and Zaymont. But pretty cool here if you get the set. you notice the set is actually more than they are individually. Individually, the M sells for less than the Cobra symbol, but to get them together, because I don't think a lot of people have the pair to put together, they're going for even more. So sets are $600 plus from what I saw. Granted, only a few sales. We're not talking about dozens and dozens of sales here, but from the little bit that have actually trickled out there, it's going for a big number. So just another thing to keep in mind if you're out there collecting and looking for any of these San Diego exclusives. Please think before you buy, before you get FOMO, and before you go diving in, because a lot of times these things rush in sale prices. People are selling them on the floor as they're grabbing them off of tables, and then the following week interest kind of lulls and dies a little bit as people start looking towards the next convention, and they realize some of these covers may get released again, etc. Just be mindful of that and don't overreact. But it's still fun, and it's still something we can look at as a community together and can appreciate that these are some fun exclusives that those folks out on the West Coast were lucky enough to get, where the rest of us, East Coast people, I guess, like myself, didn't have a shot at because I didn't decide to fly across country for this con this year. But that all said, they're still cool, and we can still take a look at them. And while you're here, make sure you stick around and check out Tales from the Dark Side, starting off right after I'm done. So just hang in there. The boys will be going live. Before you know it, they're going to be covering all of the Acolyte plans that they revealed at San Diego Comic-Con. So our future of Star Wars in the form of television and comics, books, etc. The boys are going to cover it all, as well as give a market update on some of the books that they've been watching and all the other fun Star Wars stuff that I know you guys all know and love here on the channel every Sunday night. So hang around. The boys will be starting up in a second. And with that all said, I'll be back soon with some more content and see you all later. All right. Bye.